outside of the groundhogs that you have to take care of. And the groundhogs are getting kind of pissed at me.
I need some ambient noise. I
know.
need to know that something's happening.
So if you're in a quiet space, which is rare for you,
Right.
you got 5 youngsters and your poor, long-suffering wife, and then dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
2?
Dixie and Deacon.
So we just have the 2 dogs and the long-suffering wife. But with nobody in the house, it's weird, man. And I can't have the silence. I got to have a TV on just for low level, something.
Yeah.
Freaks me out.
I'm so surrounded by people and constantly, I have people talking to me while I'm using the bathroom. Like it's that level of engagement. And one day my house is going to be quiet. And it's
when they were younger, did they just bust on in?
They still do. They're like, Dad. I'm like, you see that door? You see that it was shut? Do you know that
you see me on the commode?
That's not an invitation.
That's
like,
exactly.
I understand that I can't move right now because I am doing bodily functions, but let's just talk. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, come on in here.
This is going to be weird for you.
Don't spray the spray. You sit there and you enjoy it. Speaking of busting on in, let's bust on into all the best words. My name is Matt Murphy, and I say all the best words.
My name's Cameron Smith. I write all the best words.
And this, believe it or not, is called All the Best Words.
I know words. I have the best words.
This is All the Best Words with Matt Murphy and Cameron Smith.
I never know if our mics are hot while the reel is going.
Yeah, me either.
So I get really quiet and it gets awkward.
We just
we were just talking about.
Yeah, we just stare at each other.
Yeah, we just kind of stare at each other, and it's awkward to stare at you with those glasses on because I feel like you're gonna, I don't know, bully me.
Yeah, these are aviators. I might fly at any given moment.
Are those new?
So you'll love this. I found them about 10 years ago at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, and they were like smashed up and like somebody had discarded them.
Mm-hmm.
I got them and just for no apparent reason kept them. And then I decided I'm going to see if they'll refurbish these. Mm-hmm. And so I think these are Maui Gems, and I just called in and said they need new lenses and new frames. And this is a discontinued sunglasses. And they came back and they're great. Justine did it for her birthday, and I've had them for a while now, and I love them.
I did that twice with a set of Costco's that lost lenses, cracked lenses or whatever. And then I lost them in the ocean, and they wouldn't do it anymore.
Yeah,
because,
it's you got to have something. But I basically sent trash to them, and
they gave you
gave me new sunglasses.
They gave you nice things back.
Yeah, that's cool.
I also have a great Glock story about that too, where the Glock people said we would love to refurbish this gun for you, but it doesn't have like the actual gun barrel. Oh, well, I guess so. All right, so like and subscribe. Thank you for being a part of the All the Best Words family. You know how it goes. Cameron says a word, I say a word, we discuss said words, and we get you out of here in about 12 or 14 minutes.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
I do. I have an interesting word. It's a name.
Mm-hmm.
Hillbilly Potato Leaf.
Is that like a band?
It sounds like it should be.
Mm-hmm.
It is
or a great song by Wasted Bacon.
And it's going to happen this afternoon. It'll probably be about a raccoon that gets high.
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's fine. Don't worry about that.
Wait, so hillbilly potato leaf.
Potato leaf. It is my favorite kind of tomato. And every year I have a garden with my next door neighbor. We have big garden boxes, and it's right between our yards. And it's a really exciting thing that we do together. And I always have heirloom tomatoes. And hillbilly potato leaf, it's a really big old tomato that is kind of yellow and red on the outside. It's really pretty.
So this is a type of tomato.
It is.
Okay.
And it gets its name because the leaves look like potato leaves. So if you see potatoes growing, their leaf looks like this one. It's kind of obvious.
Got it.
But the reason that I picked that word is we live in a digital hellscape. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the ability...
follow me at Matt Murphy Show. Thank you.
Yeah. At T. Cameron Smith in the garden. I'll be there live streaming. And that to me is maybe the most concerning part is sometimes we need to just kind of get back to basics, spend a little time out gardening. With my boys, I've got 5 of them. They'll come to the garden with me and poke around, weed, fertilize, do the basic stuff. And it's a great time to talk and just slow everything down a little bit. And this time of year, the garden's one of my favorite places to be in. I'll be in the yard all day long on the weekends. And I think in our culture, we need to remember to have things like that. I get everybody doesn't have a green thumb, but it's important to find some things that slow you down. Read a book that's made of actual paper. You know, have a conversation that's not scheduled. You know, find those real human things and come back to us, because you and I both depend on technology for our livelihood, right? For people to read our stuff, people to listen to our stuff. And that's great, but it can get weird. The digital land can really get bad and get you in strange places. So it's really good to kind of reconnect, take your shoes off, walk on some grass, and it's fine to get back to it after that, but find your thing.
I've told you this story, I think, but it bears repeating, and it goes to the heart of what you're talking about. And I think it's all about human interaction and human connection. And this was in the summer of 2020, directly in the aftermath of the George Floyd riots, where there were forced furloughs going on in a lot of businesses, radio included, that led to me having to take a week off. I was forced to take 3 weeks off, and they could be separate from one another. But that was in order to save jobs, because it was in the midst of COVID as well. And because of George Floyd, and I did not want to take the week off because there was a lot of news going on surrounding the George Floyd riots, but I decided to try to figure out how much America was truly paying attention to this. And so I got on my motorcycle and I drove through Alabama, through Georgia, and back again, and specifically avoiding interstates or whatnot, going to small towns and just stopping at the small towns, keeping my phone in my backpack, sitting down on park benches, sitting down in city centers, and initiating conversations with human beings.
Wow.
And it was fascinating how little we talked about Minneapolis, how little we talked about skin color, how little we talked about politics, and how much we talked about tomatoes, how much we talked about the weather, how much we talked about how things going in your town, what's good, what's bad. I mean, that human interaction, that level of human connection, I don't mean to get too deep here, but you know as well as I do, we're losing it.
And our kids don't see it. Like the younger people, they haven't had good examples for a while now of what this looks like, those things that you're mentioning. And so if we don't model that for them and show them how to, they won't know how to. And then this is toast, weird toast. And I think with one of my buddies, I went to Bell Buckle, Tennessee, to the Bell Buckle Cafe. And you know why we went? Because we wanted to.
Yeah.
And we just hung out and we had these rolls that were actually donuts, because they gave us the roll and the icing. You put the icing on the roll and it was great. I thought this was magical, but like, that's what we talked about.
Why was your friend Matt Murphy not there?
Well, you know,
interesting question.
It is an interesting question.
I've got a new word for all the best words for next week. It's called betrayal.
Yeah, I got one, lonely.
But no. Strive to do this.
Yeah.
Strive to get out in the weeds, knock around in the weeds, find yourself a hillbilly what?
Hillbilly potato leaf, Matt.
Potato leaf. I got a volunteer squash coming up in my garden, which I'm very excited about. Or maybe strike up a conversation with somebody you don't know. Not just a hello, how are you, and then off you go. But if the feeling strikes you, try to actually have a conversation with somebody you know.
And I know some of you guys are awkward now. We've been through COVID. We didn't talk. We masked our faces. Here's an idea. Just found something nice about them and say, hey, you know what? I think your truck is really great. And find something to talk about, and you'd be shocked at what we want to connect. We're human.
Thank you, Cameron. My truck is really great. With that in mind, I'll go on to my word, and my word is asylum. Asylum.
Nah.
Now,
okay.
Given recent events with Donald Trump's crackdown with immigration and customs enforcement, not just here in Nashville, Tennessee, where we broadcast from, but all across the country, maybe you're thinking about asylum seekers and people seeking asylum. Now, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about asylum as in mental asylums or mental institutions. The thought occurred to me when I was downtown on Lower Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee recently. It was a pretty wild Saturday night, and I'm watching a lot of the partygoers and a lot of the folks that have had a little too much to drink, and thank goodness they're Ubering home. and I'm looking at a lot of the homeless people. And it started me down a road of thinking about how to help.
Yeah.
Sincerely, how to help. And I understand in 1975, I believe it was, there was a Supreme Court ruling, and there have been subsequent Supreme Court rulings that indicate that you cannot involuntarily commit someone to a mental institution or a mental asylum unless we find them to be a danger to themselves or a danger to others.
Right.
But I think it is time that we relook at that phrase and figure out what we think it means, because we have a significant homeless population, not all of them, not even maybe half of them, but we have a significant homeless population that are severely mentally disturbed, and they're not getting help on the streets. They are being left behind on the streets, and there has to be a better way. And I understand, too, that because of the way that we did it in the 1930s and 40s and 50s and 60s until, for the most part, mental institutions as we knew them then kind of ceased to exist, we did it wrong, right? We were, in some cases, inhumane.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Sure. But that doesn't mean that we can't reimagine a better way to do this for significant portions of the homeless population so that we can better try to figure out who the rest are and how to get them the help that they need. It frustrates me that we're watching this explode all over the United States of America. And I understand we're always going to have homelessness. We're always going to have these issues. But I feel like we can do this a better way. And I think it involves institutions or places where people can go and, in some cases, involuntarily confine them to those spaces to get them the help that they need.
Yeah, and this is close to my heart because my family for years now has been a therapeutic foster family. And so we see kids with a lot of trauma who don't have a place, who are trying to figure out, how do I build a life out of an unstable circumstance? And unfortunately, a lot of the kids that are in these systems that have some of these mental challenges, they end up being the homeless. They end up in situations where let's just be honest, it's awful. We wouldn't wish that on our worst enemy. Some of the things that you see downtown, under bridges, like in just rough places. And I think it's really important, particularly for conservatives, to say we're pro-life. Like from the cradle to the grave. We care about life in all of its permutations and, despite of the challenges. I've told people at my house, families who shows up, and taking care of people and being sincere about wanting to give them a chance. Now, the hardest thing I've ever had to accept was this notion that some kids have such challenges that they can't be in homes, that it's unsafe for them, unsafe for the families. And I've been to places in Tennessee where I've seen kids in those circumstances, and I get it. But the answer cannot be we abandon them. The answer cannot be they're too dangerous, and then we're going to get through the system and then dump them out on the street, and then they go to prison. Like, that's not a good answer.
Well, and we've sadly, in my opinion, allowed the pendulum to swing. And I understand the humanity of wanting people to live a life of their own choosing.
Yes.
And in a lot of cases, the issue involves people just making bad choices and refusing to get help for what they know are bad choices in their lives.
Sure.
But in other cases, we're talking about people who need legitimate assistance, and they're not willing to accept it on their own. They need a nudge in the right direction. And that makes people squirmy. It makes people uncomfortable. The idea that we're going to take somebody who's in mental duress and lock them up. Yeah, we're going to do that to try to get them a better level of help and to protect the rest of society from them, because sadly, often it is the case that phrase, a danger to themselves or to others, we don't know that they're a danger to themselves or to others until they are.
Yeah, and one of the things, just to put a cap on this one, is look at this as a diversionary option. Because when they're in situations where there's confrontation, where there's the potential for violence and other things like that, that can go south really fast. And if we have a situation where call it a petty offense like trespassing or something like that, and can say, hey, you know what? Rather than prosecuting you and incarcerating you or coming up with fines and things that make your situation worse, if you'll allow us to help you with a diversionary path that can get you some help and maybe improve your circumstances, that's empathy. That's like actually caring about the situation and trying to come up with a game changer here. And man, that's a great word, and I hope we follow through.
And I think in some cases, you're talking about giving those people a support structure and a system for them to live in for the rest of their lives. And in a lot of cases, you're not talking about that. You're talking about giving them a support structure and a system to the point that they can start doing things like that on their own.
Good word.
Before we go, so how do you like your tomato sandwich?
So I like a nice thick slice of that hillbilly potato leaf, bacon, lettuce, and occasionally I put like a slice of mozzarella on it.
See, that's a little fancy. For me, if I want to go old school, we're just talking white bread, mayo on either side, salt, pepper, that thick slice of tomato. Got to be hot, though. Can't get it. Don't put it in the fridge. Got to be warm.
That's
room
true.
temp. Once it's in the fridge, you've ruined it for that sandwich. But that tomato sandwich and tomato on, so good. Reminds me of my grandma.
Good deal, man.
All right, we're going to go eat tomato sandwiches. Until next time, this has been All the Best Words.